Okay, so this is going to be all about reading how Pluto stopped being a planet. And we're looking for a main idea and details. So when I read the title and it says how Pluto stopped being a planet, one of the first things that I'm thinking of is I want to think, well, when I'm looking for a main idea, the main idea is going to tell me why Pluto stopped being a planet. So every sentence I'm thinking, is this why Pluto stopped being a planet? So it says, for decades, people believed our solar system had 9 planets. Okay, all those planets. But in 2006, a group of astronomers decided Pluto was not a true planet, but something else, a dwarf planet. So have they explained why it stopped being a planet? No, they just said it's a dwarf planet. The term dwarf planet might make you think that Pluto was kicked out of the club because of its size, right? But it's also true that Pluto is, even though it's true that Pluto is small compared with other planets, if Earth was the size of a basketball, Pluto would be the size of a golf ball, but Pluto's size isn't why astronomers now call it a dwarf planet. So they still haven't explained why it stopped being a planet. So why the change to Pluto's status? Here's why. So this is going to be why Pluto stopped being a planet. So I'm going to highlight it. In August 2006, astronomers came up with a new definition for a planet. Ooh, and that's the main idea. And look at these. I know that these dots mean those are going to be my key details. All right, so first we have our main idea. Main ideas get underlined. So let's underline right there. There you go. To be a planet, there has to be 3 conditions. All right, so Pluto is not a planet because it doesn't meet these. So what is the detail here? It has to orbit the sun. It has to be massive to pull into shape. It has to have cleared its neighborhood of smaller objects. So why, this doesn't answer why Pluto is not a planet, but this does. Pluto does not meet the 3rd condition. It hasn't cleared out its neighborhood the way other planets have. It moves within a field of rock and ice objects it cannot clear away. Awesome. So that gives us the 3 details, because you have to read and underline key details about why it changed its status. Well, there's all 3 details for why this main idea that it's not a planet. These are the 3 details to explain it. So we got to underline that as well. And then it's saying that's why they call it a dwarf planet. Not everyone accepted the change. Some feel like it should still be a planet. So it's still considered a dwarf planet, but it's not considered an actual planet. Okay, so now we have all of our details. And what we learned from previous lessons is that when you get down here, it's asking you questions, you can go back and reread. So it says, what is the main idea of the science article? So if we underlined, astronomers came up with a new definition of a planet. Now we're trying to figure out which one is kind of saying that there's a new definition of a planet for Pluto. So a group of astronomers decided it's a dwarf planet. That's possible. Anytime it's possible, I'm going to do yellow. Pluto is large enough to be a moon, but too small to be a planet. I don't know if that's a main idea. That's a key detail. This is where they get you. They want you to say what is the main idea, and then they give you a detail. So if it's a detail, I'm not doing that. I'm striking through it. Many astronomers, let's strike that out way better. You can't really see that strikeout. All right. And then many astronomers are pleased that Pluto is not a planet anymore. Okay, that's an opinion. That's not an idea, right? They're pleased that it's not a planet anymore. That doesn't have anything to do with the science article facts. Strike it out. Some astronomers still believe Pluto should be called a planet. Guess what? That's an opinion as well. So really, in going through every single opinion, we found that the answer absolutely is A. So I'll keep it highlighted. Which statement from the text best supports the answer? So our answer was a group of astronomers decided it's a dwarf planet. So what supports that? Basically, we have to go see if what we underlined fits here. So for decades, people believe the solar system had 9 planets. Did we underline that? We did not. So strike you out. It's true Pluto is small compared to the other planets. We did not underline that. Strike out. In August 2006, astronomers came up with a new definition for a planet. August 2006. Oh, yep, we underline that. Total possibility, highlight it. It has to be massive enough for its own gravity to pull it in the shape of a ball. Nope, we did not underline that, so strike through. We've gotten lucky 2 times in a row because sometimes there's 2 possible answers, but really it's very clear that this is the one that best supports because it is what we underlined when we were reading as a main idea and support. Which of these is most clearly a key detail? So now we're going through and seeing it. We also would have wanted to underline it or have it relate to what we were just doing. So it's true that Pluto is small compared with the planets. Well, we didn't even want this for a supporting detail. So if we didn't want it here, we don't want it here. Is there any other ones like that? No. If the Earth were the size of a basketball, Pluto would be the size of a golf ball. Maybe. It hasn't cleared its neighborhood the way the planets have. Ooh, it hasn't cleared its neighborhood the way the planets have. We underline that, so that's even stronger than this one. So when I look at that, it helps me decide I'm going to highlight this. And now I'm going to unhighlight that. You can just be not highlighted and strike through. Not all astronomers accept the change to Pluto's status. Did we underline that? Nope. It's right here and it's not underlined. So strike through. The answer to that would be C. All right. What is the main idea of paragraph 3 and key details? We're going to organize. So let's go to our organizer. Main idea. So this is, remember, when we go back and it was the first thing that we decided we were going to underline, which is important so that we know exactly what we're going to add here as our main idea. Okay. So use the main idea to organize your information. And when we scroll back up to look at the key main idea, here it was. Scroll, scroll, scroll. This was our main idea. The rest were key details. So I've got in 2006. They restructured it. They called it they took Pluto and decided it's not a planet anymore. It's just a dwarf planet. So move it over here. In 2006, astronomers came up with a new definition of a planet. And I'll even add, and Pluto did not match the description. Okay, now my key details is to explain how it does not match the description. Luckily, we have 3 exact sentences that we underlined. So we're going back. It hasn't cleared the neighborhood the way other planets have. You can always pause if this is going too fast for you. It hasn't cleared its neighborhood the way planets have. It moves within a field of rock and ice objects that it cannot clear away. And then the last piece will be to explain, here I go down, what they decided to do instead. Since we don't have all three, our last key detail is it stopped being considered a planet, so what is it now? Right? It moves within a field, and it's always good to reread what you type or copy paste to make sure it makes sense, because look, it took out my F and I, so it hasn't cleared its neighborhood the way the planets have. It moves within a field of rock and ice objects that it cannot clear away. And lastly, it was renamed a dwarf planet. Right? That's why. So now they realized it wasn't that it couldn't be any kind of planet, but it's not a planet, it's a dwarf planet. Okay, so when you decide to do a short response, it says use all this information. So we're going to take all of this, but put it in a paragraph form. Okay, so we're going past here. In your book, you know you're going to have to go past all of this to get to your short response. Maybe now make a short response here, then make you have it right here. Use the space below. There we go. So we have to have our original topic. Okay, so the main idea is how Pluto stopped becoming a planet. So the first thing to say is Pluto stopped being seen as a planet. We're just stating a fact, and now we're going to explain the main idea. So I'm going to take what's right here. I'm even going to say it stopped becoming a planet in 2006. This is because, so now you're explaining, in August 2006, astronomers came up with a new definition and Pluto didn't meet the description. Okay, now we're going to explain our key details. First, it doesn't clear out parts that are around it, right? Parts of the neighborhood. I'm just paraphrasing my key detail from here and putting it down here. Second, it does not clear away rock and ice objects. Okay, right? And then third, they decided to call it a dwarf planet instead. Alright, then you always have to have your concluding sentence. So then, Pluto is now known as a dwarf planet, but it is no longer one of the 9 planets. There are only 8 planets now. 8 planets. Alright, so basically we explained what was happening and why it stopped being considered a planet and what has happened to it with all of the identifying key details and how they support the main idea. Okay, so with that would be your short response. Hopefully this helps. That's everything that you need to know for identifying main ideas and details for how Pluto became a planet.